6:08, I'm calling the meeting to order.
Oh. Hold on. Yes, go for it.
Okay. Sage Alexander? Here. Pamela Batchelor?
Here.
Teresa Baxter?
Here.
Iris is excused. Susan Horowitz?
Yeah.
Susan Jaggers is excused. Michelle Jones?
Here.
Danielle is excused. Eve Lacey? Jennifer Miller is excused. Melanie Neske? Nettie Penman? Jenny Rabolino?
Here.
Cindy Tiger? Here. Scott Tillian?
Over here.
No, you're there. Okay. Public invited to be heard? None. Corrections to the May minutes? Did everybody look at the minutes?
Yeah.
I need a motion to approve the minutes as is or as amended. I amended it.
You did that.
But don't worry
Then
about it.
so as is, please.
Okay. I need a motion.
Well,
Nettie? Second.
I'll second.
All in favor to approve the minutes as is? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And Sage is just, okay, so. Against? No.
Did we just have one abstention?
I had
I
10.
actually on stage, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was at the last meeting. But I was all like, I read the notes and they looked good.
That's okay.
So I have 11 people. So I have 9, 4, and 2 abstentions.
That's right. 9, 4, 2 abstentions.
Additions, corrections to tonight's agenda? Thank you to outgoing commissioners.
Thank you.
Pamela, Melanie, Nettie. That's 5 of us.
So
Whoa.
Pamela, Susan, and Cindy were here before I was here.
Oh,
And so that's been a minute. And then I came on board and was like, I have thoughts and feelings. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And so then I think the majority of your terms were like crawling out of the pandemic.
I really think we should get credit for 2 years.
Seriously.
I mean, I think we should get that going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Those who do not
But remember, some kept falling asleep.
have.
Their cat was like walking on their face.
My
and they're
God,
like,
it was insane.
that was
That's for real.
good.
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining. Let's see. So Susan spearheaded the getting online field trips for kiddos, and despite our best effort of getting our Safe Brain Valley, it was good. The content was really good. The connection was troublesome. So, but hey, it was fantastic. But that was a good one. And you served on how many selection panels? 2 or 3. Yeah. And then Pamela, how many selection panels did you serve on? No, one big one.
I think 3.
Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, we didn't have too much selection.
Yeah. That's true. Yep. And then Cindy single-handedly audited the shop guard collection, all 80 of them, and took pictures and went and got GIS points for all of them, which is now online and accurate on the website. So when we actually do transition and transfer over to a story map or some sort of digital map, all of that's updated, amongst other things like the label projects. You got visited every single piece, audited.
into every single piece we have to
The
see,
flag person.
see if we had signage on them and what shape they were in and everything.
And so the new plaques, just the first batch just got on. Britt just finished the second batch. And so far, Collier Park's been stolen. But other than that,
Really?
yeah, it's a
I swear.
it's my problem.
And I just want to encourage you all. Really, it took us, we separated the areas that the artwork was, and it only took us like 5 weeks, 1 day every week to go and look at all the art that we had. And I really encourage everybody to do that. It's such an eye-opener. You say, oh, look, there's this, and oh, look, there's that. And it really is interesting to locate where it is and to look at it and say, yeah, okay.
And fill out a maintenance form. Want that.
Sure. But I encourage everybody to get involved and do selection panels and go and look at the art. Start out just in your neighborhood and just look up where everything is. I guess you can look online now.
Yeah, we're working on getting it more complete.
We
It's just not
had a
very
bike map, but they stopped putting them on the bike maps. But you might be able to find an old
I
bike
don't
map.
We
think
have
there's
bike
been a
maps.
new bike map.
Well, the bike maps are only for biking. They do
Bike,
not
and it didn't include the art.
So
Library still has some public art.
bike maps. They're coveted at this juncture. But Britt is working on, we'll get both, well, all three, the GIS layer, the website, and then something physical. But we were talking to Visit Longmont, and they said, 100 maps? They go through 100 maps a week, a variety of maps for city maps.
For long.
So really thinking about, like, is it replicable?
That's
Word?
That's it.
Replicable? Something we could print even here in-house, and maybe it's a pocket map or something. I don't know, but we're investigating, and luckily having graphic design on staff and working this week. So, yeah.
Another thing I would encourage is get a list of where the shock arts are and go around, because you'll be surprised where some of them are. You're like, oh, I never saw this one before because I never go up here, or I never go over there, or whatever. And soon, coming soon to a city near you, we can add, going to look at all the history under wraps.
And Nettie and Melanie, thank you for your years of service. I mean, you could both came in right at the kind of the coming out of the pandemic, so you got a little taste of both, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely say that Public Places was like my first introduction to Longmont as well. We first moved here in 2020 and everything was shut down and it's very sad. But there was this community painting event with Tony Ortega
Right.
in the outdoors, and that was like my first introduction to it. I was like, awesome, I would really like to be a part of this. So it was like the light in the darkness of the pandemic. So thank you all. It's been really fun, and I feel a lot more engaged with the artistic community in town. So love it. Very proud of it.
Yeah. And you served on, which selection panel did you serve on? One big one, I know.
Fox.
Oh, you served on Fox Meadows. Yeah.
I can't remember. Some things.
Yeah.
And then
Were you with us in the Flanders?
No.
It during
No,
the
I
installation
was-
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've come to
The
a number of events, dedications and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed it because I got a degree in art, and I've always done artwork as my hobby. I had a different vocation, but I felt like I really wanted to kind of contribute from that point of view. And it's been really interesting. I mean, I knew nothing about urban public places really, and Stephanie encouraged me to step up, and so did another friend of mine. So, yeah. I kind of wish I jumped in a little earlier, I felt like I was constantly trying to figure out what's going on here, you know?
Yeah.
Just jumping in and it's great.
I think that's the work that we have to do is the orientation and the onboarding piece of it, certainly for new folks, but also just, I was talking to someone recently about the how things get done. And so when the hidden paths and unseen trails piece that's right outside in this hallway has to come out because of construction, and then go into storage and all of those things, I think I'm going to break it down into its parts. Like when we say, this thing has to move and go into storage for a year. That is one sentence. But what it takes to go through the motions and make sure that, like, I got insurance just today, and I've been working on it for, I don't even know. Who's heard the insurance? You heard? I've been screaming about insurance for a while. So it takes a lot to get things to move. So I think seeing things from start to finish might be helpful too for some of the. Well, know that you are always welcome back, and know that you can, in 1 year from now, this too could be your next term. And but I mean, open meeting, you're always welcome to come and contribute and, be a part of the conversation. So, alas, I was going to show
Angela,
a shop art.
I just wanted to thank you for all of us because you came in and as we said, then there was a pandemic and everything, and so it was not easy for an administrator to administrate and know what to do and how to feel like there was community and unity in the board members, and so you're to be admired that you did a really nice job of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's really Oliver. This does get to be our joy, and the fact that I get to say I get to do my joy for a job. Not a lot of people get to see that. Well, so I was going to say, look at how easy it is to find a city facility map, and
It's not.
oh, okay. So just so you know, here in the midst of our lovely city website, if you find the city facility directory, you can filter by all of these old antiquated ones that aren't even remotely up to date, which is not helpful. But there is shock art, and believe it or not, of all of them, shock art is the most accurate. So you can click on the location. I think you're supposed to be able to click on the location. Somehow there's a way to click and make it a map. Anyway, not super user friendly. So we're gonna work on getting that. Okay. All of that said, one more thing. I think we just jump off of Zoom, Brett, because I don't see anybody coming.
That's fair.
I thought Jennifer, I just want to speak up for Jennifer because I ran into her and she said she was going to be in Texas.
She's
or
in
something.
Albuquerque.
Oh, in New Mexico. So
I think if
But-
they need to jump on, you think they'll text me?
she would.
It's 30
She's
minutes
so
in.
good, yeah. So,
And Susie will be with us in a bit. So, right, I'm ending that. Okay. On with it.
Yeah, even if you can't click to find out where it is, there's Google Maps.
Right.
That's what I did. I just drove around saying, okay, here we are. Where is this box? There it is. It's
All right.
fun. It's fun, especially in the summer. Not so much in the winter. Okay, shock art.
Speaking of shock art.
Speaking of shock art, do you want to go? You want me to go?
Yeah, you go.
Okay, we held the voting in 3 locations: in the museum, in the Civic Center, and Old Town Marketplace. Angela will pull up the stats.
It's
So-
not fancy stats.
So most people voted in Old Town Marketplace. downtown.
because we were there twice as long.
Right.
Which
Well,
I
and-
realized I was like, oh, should have done that
But
differently. But
downtown,
I mean, I could have just pulled halfway through, marked them in a different color, and then gone back and pulled it. So it would have been Old Town Marketplace week 1 and Old Town Marketplace week 2.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stats, it's about twice as much.
Well,
right?
also
Like-
there was a huge amount of things going on downtown
Yes.
when the shock art was there.
Right. Yes. So June the 7th was very exciting, and then June the 14th, of course, was giant protest, followed by giant concert. So I know that some of you had signed up, and Britt was down there. Do you want to recap? Recap, if you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of slow going the first Saturday that I was there, but and second Saturday really because it was so hot. But I think we got a few from the event that was happening. Yeah. A lot of people, I feel like we need more signage next year because even people in there might know what they were voting for. So I was like soliciting voting as they were standing next to it. Yeah, I think we got a few extras.
Jenny, you were there in the morning of were you there when they were protesting?
No, I
It was
missed
a
it.
little-
I was 11 to 12, and I
Yeah.
think they started at
One.
1 or
One.
something. So
One
yeah,
to
that
two.
worked out great.
Yeah.
I had a ton of people. It was
Awesome.
great. Yeah, and everyone was really excited, and I, like, not to get political at all, but I feel like the word voting these days is a little contentious sometimes, and so to see people, like, excited to vote and, like, you want me to vote, you know, it was just really awesome
Yeah.
to see. It was very fun, and everyone was loving it and so excited to be a part of it. So it was really a great experience. Awesome.
I was there the evening on that day, and I feel like everyone kind of went home from the protest and it was like pushing 100 degrees.
Oh, I'm sure. We were like, we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the first shift. That seems to be the.
Well, and it was the second Saturday as well, so then the concert was down there. So
Yeah.
we did some chalk pointing and things along those lines. But it's the second Saturday. I mean, even just us aligning with the arts and culture events, even if the one doesn't necessarily directly feed the other, I think that it just, from that creative placemaking and really putting our stamp on what's happening in our town, I think it matters that those things align. So even if they didn't feed, but yes, certainly signage. So, well, from the statistics, 792 votes. Some of them had to get kicked to the curb because they were either too illegible, they were, variety of reasons, didn't follow directions, which, but we still entered them into the spreadsheets when they didn't follow directions, and then I went through and combed things, and then I also deduped. So ultimately, and this is a hard thing to read, but the cream just kind of rises to the top. So the green is Old Town Marketplace, the orange is the Civic Center, and the blue is Longmont Museum. And when it comes to your winners, you can tell that it ended up being pretty consistent. So box number 4 did the best at the museum. Box number 8 did the best at Old Town Marketplace, and box number 13 did the best at the Civic Center. The margins between the top 6 boxes, which is we're doing 7, and your 7th one is going to be your commissioner's choice. The top 6, the difference between number 6 and number 7 was less than, or was a greater distance than 1%. So it was a fairly significant amount of votes, if that makes sense. So that was good. That just means that the popular vote ended up. The other thing that was interesting, if you want to look at my spreadsheets of doom, I found that this is interesting that when I took the kiddos out of the mix, so this is the final 5. I don't know why I only have 5 highlighted. That's fine. It's 6. 6 is right here. When I took the kiddos only, they still liked 4 and 8 and 14. But the adults, totals, the adult totals match exactly with the popular. So that's
the
very
adult
interesting.
totals match the kids' total.
The adults match the final.
Oh, the final.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we have kid participation, it's an act of faith that you're trusting that it's a kiddo who's actually just putting in their true feelings, and it's not some adult that's trying to be malicious or commit small town voter fraud in the name of shock art. And I think that just rings true for our community. So it's kind of a nice thing.
I have a story to tell.
Yes.
So when I was in there voting, there was a little kiddo that came in and said, "Oh my God, a gingerbread house!" And her mother was standing there going, "There's a quilt one here. It's a quilt one." And the kid's like, "No, gingerbread house."
That will be all. That's so funny. Yeah, it's interesting. So when you have time, certainly get up and look over at our popular vote winners over here. Interestingly, of the 6, I have only worked with one of the artists before, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. We always talk about how year after year there's some themes. That funny purple lavender, Britt and I were noticing that there's that funny purple that's kind of weaving through a lot of these this year. What is it about farm animals in sunglasses? Of course, there's animals tend to rise up in our community, but there's some seriously geometric stuff going on this year, and
Do you have a list of places for the boxes? Where's the boxes?
no, he's still there's a lot of possibilities this year.
I'd like to make a request.
Yeah, sure.
I love it.
I think that the lavender ones needs to go in shade.
Okay.
And,
So that's
and I go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Just as trying to read them and
Yes.
do the spreadsheet,
Yes.
sharper pencils if there's
I
any
know.
way, because they would get, oh my God.
We
I
either
can't
need
believe
to
you
go
would do yours so fast, because I was like, get the magnifying glasses.
Yeah.
And I think I felt like sometimes it was just the dullness of the pencil
Yeah.
that they couldn't.
Yeah.
The big mechanical pencils.
They just get stolen.
Yeah.
They do, and
Or,
they're
I mean,
But if you had a bunch, and then you had a jar for dull, and then you
or
had
you
a jar
just
for
put
sharp.
a pencil sharpener in there.
Right, right.
But yeah, I think we had new boxes, but we didn't pull out the new boxes because the old ones were there, and the old ones had erasers. But
Right.
erasers. So, but yeah,
I just thought
going
that
in.
would help speed up the
Sure.
entry.
Yeah.
For me.
Sure. Well, and our friends over at Old Town Marketplace had a box of colored pencils that also were dull, and I don't think that was helpful.
Yeah.
Needless to say, all of that to say, everyone get their kisses and vote. Okay, so it seems like and everybody put only one per box, right? Okay, well then I think that it's a slam dunk unless anybody wants to super advocate for something. Broncos and butterflies. Is the clear one. So Broncos and butterflies is in this orange and blue, and it's clear the big stencil. It's so pretty. Yeah. So, and this artist, we've never worked with this artist either.
Excellent.
Yeah. So great. Well,
I
if
think that limiting the people that won last year to skip a year, I think that's really helped us spread outwards the artists. Oh no. It's going to come back.
right? So with that, if you all are in agreement that the process, which I think everyone who tallied, I don't know if you looked at what your numbers were, but interestingly, at least 2, if not 3, of the ballots that you yourself did were winners, so that makes me feel good about that too. But if you're good with the process and you think that popular vote plus the commissioner vote is the way to go, you just have to motion to move it along.
Okay, we need first a motion to approve the 6 popular vote boxes that the citizens, or the citizens, not the word I'm supposed to use.
Residents.
Residents. Eve, and 2 seconds. Pamela. Find the right page. All in favor of approving the 6 original boxes? All 11. 0 against, 0 abstaining. Okay, then we need a motion to approve the commissioner's choice. Unless anybody wants to discuss. Nope, we're good. So I need a motion on that one.
I motion to approve.
Okay.
I so
And a second? Ready? All in favor? Again. Woo! Yay!
The other thing I'd just like to
So
know
approved.
is that your mission is to diversify the collection, and I would say that the community and you did a very good job this year. That if you look at your 80 now 86 boxes, actually it might be more than that. You're getting close. Anyway, at some point, getting that image of all of the boxes and starting to look at the differences. These are quite diverse compared to the collection.
Right. Right, you're right, Pamela.
Cool.
So is there going to be a big celebration for the 100th shop?
Yes, we should, shouldn't we?
I kind of feel like we reached something.
It won't be this. It won't. Well, let's see.
What would
It
be
won't
next
be
year?
next year.
Oh, because you won't do
We'll
20.
probably
Oh.
No,
20 boxes.
no,
I
that's
think,
a lot.
all
No,
over.
true. So the year, so 26,
20,
27,
27.
28-ish,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. That would be kind of fun.
We'll have to do something big for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright. Yes.
Numbers are out of order.
Community selection. Yes. Did I mess it up?
No.
Oh, I added 2 motions.
So, well, you left out the thank you as 6, and that's why you fell behind. Okay, anyway. Van Gogh.
Oh wait, there's one more thing.
Here's one more thing.
Mentorship.
Oh,
Because we're only doing 6, not 7, so I don't go crazy. I was thinking.
we're doing something.
Well, I'm sorry, we're doing 7, not 10.
Yeah.
You have a lot of young artists this year, and I think that it shows in not just their design, but I think even the communication and here's how you fill out an application. So I was wondering, without adding any dollars, but just as kind of testing the waters, when I send my favorite part of my job, the declinations, thank you very much, would you like to come and get it, you didn't win. Maybe an opportunity for those young artists to come to the training event, and then maybe even without adding extra dollars to the winners or obligation or anything added to their contract, maybe just hey, I'm going to be painting on Friday, and try and hook a young artist up with someone
That's a great
who's
idea.
but not formally. I think we would need to kind of test the waters and see, because if we go too much into the formal bits of it, then it changes requirements. But as long as the artist who would be in kind of a mentee situation as long as they come to the training, then risk would be okay with them potentially like working side by side.
Is there a way to do it to like invite them to the training just so they can see? And then while all the winners and the trainees are there, you can say, hey, if anybody if anybody knows when they're painting, maybe a couple of the young artists would like to watch.
Kind of organically, yeah. Yes, exactly that.
Sage?
I like the idea. I think for me, as someone who was someone who painted one of these boxes, I think that having the added responsibility of having to mentor someone how to do this, maybe while that person is still learning themselves. Like, if someone, I know at least for me, I was pretty new to real painting.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot in that process. And I'm wondering how many of these people are also new at this, and maybe this is their first like public work. And so my only concern is like blind leading the blind in some ways.
Okay,
Right.
that's fair.
Right, they shouldn't be forced to teach somebody as they're learning.
Right.
And we could say, if anybody knows when they're painting, maybe these people will just stop by
And like watch
and
or
watch
something.
for a minute, without implying a mentorship or training.
Just to see their process.
Yeah.
I think having it be formal, or at least having it be like framed as a mentorship, at least for me on the end of someone painting, that would be very daunting because it would be okay, I'm trying to manage this project, get it done on time, make sure to keep an eye on weather, do all these things, and I'm responsible for coordinating communication, and maybe meeting this person here and overseeing them, but then I don't know that I would want someone else helping me paint it necessarily because my name would be on it. I feel like it could get really complicated, and I also wonder if, I feel like it could get messy.
And you should be paid for that.
And you should be paid for that. That's the other thing is it is a bit more responsibility and mental energy that would go into that. I do think that if we were going to do that, I think that it should be good to take on something.
Makes sense.
So maybe just the training? Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, just a question. Could it be more of an informal sort of mingle, like the winners and the people who didn't, and they have a chance to talk to them while you're not working?
Just at the training.
Yeah.
I love that idea of having them come to the training and learn hey, here's what goes into it, here's the safety stuff so that they can be thinking about that when they're designing it too. Because I also remember when I was designing it, I didn't know, for example, I need to make sure that the stickers aren't covered. I would have factored that into my design had I known something like that, or the little nuances of the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having them go to training is awesome, and having them meet the people that learn is an awesome idea. I think that's awesome. I just don't know about the on-site mentorship. I think that would be
Okay.
training.
So like a shock art social
Yeah.
and training. Okay.
Okay, that's good feedback. Thank you.
Oh, guess what? We're back in Zoom.
Okay,
See, we're trying to Zoom please. Yep. All right. So very good. No action needed there. I think it just sounds like inviting everyone to come, and then they could pick up their boxes at the same time and meet the others. And I agree. There's kind of a lot with the training piece of it, like even keeping an eye out on where the sensor is and making sure that you don't go over that and all of that business. Hi, Jennifer. All right, great.
Van Gogh.
We are working on getting Evan's contract. That's the update.
and it's close.
He's agreeable. Yeah,
It's close.
it's going to be so easy once we're there.
Okay. So, number 9, history under wraps. Britt got a new computer. It doesn't die every time she's saving a file, so she's moving forward. Now we'll be working with the printer directly for the history under wraps. Okay, so Tuesday, those will all be done, right?
Seriously.
Well, I had a file saved this morning. I was pretty excited about that.
And they'll look good? The resolution's good, they all look good?
So far, yeah.
Excellent.
And it's just a matter of saving them, so.
Okay.
Without smoking,
Yeah.
fire. But I appreciate you going through all of the hoops on that one.
So we should hope to see those up sometime next month?
Yeah. Because Britt's gonna work with the printer directly, and I'm getting out of the way.
Okay, council comments. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie.
I went to the Civic Center.
Oh, no,
I didn't even look. I'm just a creature of habit.
Yes.
I just said on autopilot.
Yes.
Then I was looking around and was my car's here. And I walked in and I texted Harold and Zach and I was I hope I didn't set off an alarm. Because it was closed today.
Right.
Right.
So there's that. But I'm here. And so we had a couple of big issues come up. One is looking at, and we actually tabled the ordinance to, so one of the things that I learned on Tuesday was Hope was not involved in the discussion of the city and lane ordinance, where there were certain streets that were targeted, North Main, downtown district area, there was some over by the fairgrounds, there were certain areas that they had highlighted. And you know, for years, the entire time I've been on council, businesses in those areas have begged us, do something. We are responsible if there's damage to the right of way, we are responsible for paying for the damage. And there's nothing that, we don't have anything written in ordinance. So we looked at that possibility of having that, you know, moving people along. If there are benches there, we can sit. That's fine. But other issues that were happening is not just unhoused, but also teenagers loitering, drug exchange, gang activity. So there's a lot of stuff. You know, and I'll be honest, the majority of the issues occurring are unhoused. So we had heard it, we ran it through first read, or the consent agenda, and then later it came back to us, and I found out Tuesday that, well, Hope was involved in the conversation. And typically, we always have stakeholders engaged. So, you know, it didn't feel right. Well, we don't want to just turn it down, but it is important that everybody involved have a seat at determining. And, you know, I talked to Alice afterwards, and we said, we got to come up with your solutions, come up with ways that so when this comes back to us, that we have set, even if people call, so if there's a violation that's occurring in those little red areas that are highlighted, then we need to have a member of the core team come report. So it's not just the beat officers, but it's actually trained individuals who are going to those. So looking at ways that those particular areas are, have special people that come out, a employee or somebody that can work with public. So kind of looking at that, but it will come back to us in August. And so that one, Whale Road annexation, just apartments. I feel like we're in a good place to negotiate with the developer they've actually worked on an MOU with Habitat to build 47 homes on site. And that is huge. Our Habitat has never had. So that's something I feel like, okay, if we turn it down, they're just going to come back in a year. There's going to be a whole new council. It might be a council that says, yeah, build 310 apartments, I don't care. So, at least now, we're in a good negotiating with them to kind of get what we want. So that's kind of what we decided to move it into the referral process or the application process. That's the route we did.
So Susie, when would that, since what you said, which is a great point, you've got a good counsel that would, and it's,
be cognizant on.
so when would that negotiation kind of,
it
a
looks
timeline.
Like it might come back to us in September, October.
oh, okay.
So, that's unless they
sit on it, but time is money.
Right.
And so
Okay.
I think they want to hurry up and go through the process. But we gave contingencies. So if you don't meet this, you guaranteed 47 houses. You guaranteed looking at condo, like more for sale. So if you're going to, or apartments with reduced number. Other thing that they promised were 3 instead of just the 1. That they would actually have 3 neighborhoods. And so incorporating that feedback, that it's apparent that they're incorporating that into the design. They don't deliver, mine is going to be a no. So yeah, kind of looking at that.
Cool.
So I think those were the big ones. Budget season's coming, so we asked Harold, okay, well, what do you need from us? Stop asking for stuff. Okay. So, yeah, there's like Boulder.
Boulder's hiring freeze is troubling.
Yes, $10 million
Yeah.
in deficit or in the hole. So, looking at some of the things that happen in state legislation with housing appraisals and property taxes, as well as just, our sales and use, we just haven't been generating the income that we were hoping for. So our, the priority, and council agrees with this, is we don't want to be laying off people. We don't want to be cutting hours and freezing salary freezes. So kind of ensuring that happens. But it looks like a lot of extras. I don't know if he's prepared to.
Me, AIPP, or all of us, like we all. So yeah, the museum I think is definitely feeling some of that. So, but the museum is going to be hopefully receiving the ability to move forward with construction, and then once that happens, we'll be under construction for 18 months. But of course, while we're under construction, there's a massive amount of revenue loss.
Yeah.
So, when you're asking for support, then you also can't bring revenue to the table to justify the support that you need. So, yeah, at least from the museum standpoint, and of course, when it comes to art and public places, if there's not CIP projects that are being funded, then there's not 1% that's going into the fund. So I think that would be probably the fairest way to say about the direct one-to-one.
And you'll be hearing soon the public safety building. It's just the give the something. So there's a retaining wall that's not very stable. So we're going to have to go in and do some work on that, which is going to be millions.
So it is one of those things too, where you have what Harold explains to staff is there's the levels of need, right? And level 1 is your must-have. So when a building is falling in on itself,
That's
takes priority.
It moves itself up.
That's how that works. And so that goes across the board for budgeting, priority-based budgeting. So level 1s, but from a public art standpoint, the blessing and the curse of that is that the 1% comes from those construction dollars, whether or not it's, if it's falling in on itself or it's, hey, we decided to build it, it's part of the code that 1% of those construction dollars over $50,000 has to be siphoned off. And sometimes that makes people who are building buildings feel a little grumpy.
Just don't highlight it that much.
So we're just gonna.
Just low key.
Everybody, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
If you ever have questions about the way that the code is written, or the funding piece of it, or specifically related to that, please just let me know. I'm happy to sit with you and talk about any of that kind of stuff. I mean, we don't dredge on it here because it is something that, bringing it up every time. Some people love it, some people hate it. They love the end product, right?
Yeah.
Always love what comes out at the end. But there's that. And I would also point out, and to Susie's point, from a Robert's Rules perspective, there's something that you ever don't feel good about, or you don't feel like the stakeholders are on the table, and you're like, wow, this is table something.
Yeah.
Just because there is an item on your agenda, and there's action related to it, if you don't feel comfortable with the action, that's when a motion is on the table, and then the second action of that is the discussion happens after the motion. You can say, it seems like hope isn't around the table here, and it's directly related. I think we need to table this until the next meeting and invite more people around the table. That is a completely, perfectly functional way to accomplish tasks. Yeah, so budget season.
Thank you, Susie.
Yeah, of course.
Administrator report.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with the good stuff. There's just all good stuff. We have 2 new commissioners who the nominating committee, neither of them are here, recommended to council, and council interviewed them, and I think that they're a great fit. One of them is a commissioner who served a while ago, so is very familiar with art in public places, as well. In her time, while she has not been on the commission, she participates in a local bike group, and she organically and in a grassroots way leads public art tours. So that's pretty awesome. And then the second person, and her name is Randy Long.
Oh,
So Randy's coming back, which is great. And then she was leaving right when I was coming in. And then Rhonda Beaupre just served on the Fox Meadow selection panel and had a really great experience. And so she said she learned a lot about public art, and that just going through the selection panel experience really opened her mind to, just because there's art in public space doesn't make it part of the public art collection and what falls in our purview. And so she's interested in being able to support that. So we will have them coming on board next month. There is the orientation meeting for boards and commissions on July 14th. That's a Monday in the Civic Center. If you have not gone to the orientation, or if you want to refresh, or if you just want to listen to the city attorney talk, this is so lovely. But also just kind of getting the ins and outs of things. It's a really, really, really valuable insight to government, and specifically your role, the do's and don'ts. So I highly recommend it. I will be there, and then I know that Randy will be there. I think that Rhonda is going to get the video version, and if you yourself would like a copy to watch later, very valuable. So that's on the 14th. Harold is underway with hiring a new assistant city manager. I think I said this once before, but as you look at the ladder, there's Eric, and then our director of our division. His name is Jeff Reesner. So he oversees Parks, Rec, and culture things and golf. And then there's our assistant city manager, and council. And so that assistant city manager position has been vacant, and they have it narrowed down to a short list. I understand that the finalists are going to go through a ringer, and then they're bringing that person on board. And so the powers that be have recommended that once that new assistant city manager comes on board, that some of our agenda items related to guideline changes then will enter into the pipeline, so that person can be involved in some of that. So that's that information. And then finally, maybe I should have added this as new business, but maybe not. The Lanyon Park project has finally come into focus. So the museum has a variety of ways that we're going to be doing the community activation. We are not going to be doing the basketball court. That material is just not holding up. It's not responsible. But what we are going to do is we're going to mix our kind of our paint by numbers approach and do it on large panel, the Tony Ortega approach, and we're going to create a backstop for the baseball fields. Yeah. So we're going to do in August. I'm looking at the August the 9th. It's a Saturday, to basically take what we do at Art Walk and transform it into backstops. And so we'll have 4 panels. I'm hoping that they all get complete, but if we just get one done, we just get one done. So volunteer-wise, of course, we'll be looking for people to come and help with the painting aspect of it. We'll definitely need some volunteers to do the door hanger piece of it. We're going to invite certainly our community of public art followers, which I would say on social we're about like 1,700. It's pretty good. The city socials are massive, and then our own newsletter list. So we're going to engage those people. But we're also going to get into the neighborhood and get those kiddos and those families at Landon Park and doing what we do. I'm looking at Saturday, August 9th. We're going to do it in the morning before everybody burns up and fries. So like 9 to noon, I think. So I went over there the other day and walked in about like 8 o'clock, and the parks guy was there kind of taking out the trash, and there was a family there. So it definitely was, there were people in the park, but the leadership goal is certainly just to have more presence, we can bring color, and then invitation of really bringing these people in. So
Do you know what the picture's going to be?
we're working on it. We have ideas. I think community theme, not baseball theme. You know, park and fun theme. But luckily we have a graphic designer on staff, so it's got to have a little baseball. Yeah. But there's going to be 4 of them, and unfortunately, if you look at the backstop, it's just chain. It's chain link that's just kind of wonky and wavy.
Yeah.
So the installation pieces, the exhibits department's going to help us with it. But we're going to do 2 of them on one side facing the mound, and then we'll have 2 on the other side. And here's the truth too: is if we don't finish the first 2 or we don't finish the last 2, then rather than doing the canvases at Art Walk, we'll take the panels instead. So for Landon Park, and then same, second verse, same as the first. If it's successful, we're gonna have to figure out graffiti sealant and something that protects it from when baseballs hit it repeatedly. So that'll be fun. But and then if it's successful and they want to do it again, then we'll get new panels and we'll just keep doing backstops.
Well, if the batter's really good, the ball's going to get through.
Great. So anyway, so that was a leadership. Hey, here's how we're activating it, and the museum has really been working on how we can participate. And we've learned how to do it. We did it well. Why reinvent the wheel? So that's the plan.
Just one suggestion with reference to Landon Park. I
Yes.
was on the selection panel that did the new.
Yes.
And the majority of your residents are monolingual students.
Yes.
So we need to have someone that is very fluent in both languages, either to assist us, or I don't know if anybody here has a special talent and can speak Spanish fluently, but we need to have that engagement so that we have that acceptance there. That's a big deal.
We will. I did not have that on my list, but we'll get someone who could be a facilitator
Absolutely.
in Spanish. Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being so cognizant. Translation service, a facilitator. Yes. And then
I plan on being there on
Okay.
the 4th or the 9th, sorry.
Yep.
And I am fluent in Spanish.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
But then we'll keep you there all day.
Oh!
So
We'll still have that.
should we
yeah,
do
please,
it 2 days?
the more is better.
Yeah.
Should we do Saturday and Sunday? If we're to 9 to noon, or is just one day enough?
I think one day is plenty.
I think
Somehow it's going to get done.
For all
I
of
think
us.
one day's enough, and then if we don't finish it, we do it at our walk.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So yes, August the 9th.
Unless
as
absolutely everybody there says, can we come back tomorrow?
Okay, I love it. Let's do it.
Anything else?
And then hand heart. I don't have my notes in front of me. The Roosevelt Park bit. They did come back with suggestions of the playground. They came back with suggestions of the senior fitness, and they're like, art in public places. We're thinking Xeriscape, and it was, no. It's supposed to be a traditional. So my task force members, between now and next month, we'll get a revision and you'll get your options. Okay, and that's all I got.
Okay. Commissioner comments, anyone? Jennifer? Still there?
Oh, yep, she's in. Not there? Can't see? Don't know? Hard to tell. Lost me too. Oh, there we go.
Question.
Oops. Yes.
What's happening with the senior center?
Part on the move, I haven't opened it up yet, but are you agreeable to just stay and work on that with me?
Sure.
If you want, yeah. Melanie, you're good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I promised Eric that I'm not gonna start things until I get other things underway, so, which is fair. So, until I get Evan and his contract and maybe some shocker contracts, then I'll open up other contracts.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I have one thing. So one of my maintenance pieces, first teacher in front of the library, gets like community love and attention. And I just wanted to ask what our thoughts were on how that's being done. So what I mean by that is people like to put flowers. So it's a bronze sculpture and it has a bench. And so people often do put flowers there, sometimes like potted, sometimes a bouquet. And then recently a small flag appeared next to it as well. And I don't remember, I have an older picture, I have to verify, but I don't remember exactly what it says. But it was nothing like, oh my gosh. But just curious of the kind of like normal approach or policy around that and if I should like intervene.
Does anybody have any strong feelings about that first or thoughts?
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I've noticed that the garden area around this particular piece is very neglected, for lack of better words. I'm wondering if we helped parks create kind of more of a rock garden or something that set it apart so it didn't look so flowery or so dark, that maybe that might be less of an opportunity, or maybe we can even put a holder for flowers there where they can switch them back and forth. But the garden area itself is just really, it's in need of some help.
So when the garden front, I think that I could, if we felt appropriate to look at growing water smart, we can always engage those folks to do something that is xeriscape or not watered. Ideally, and I'd have to go back and revisit, but I know that every time I've looked at that bronze, it doesn't look like it's getting water hosed onto it, which makes me think that's why it looks sad.
It's got
I don't know.
It's got an old rose bush next to it, which is
Oh.
beautiful. The rose itself is beautiful. It's just not well taken care
just
of. It
looks
could
like
be tranced, you know. It's
Did
just,
it a long time ago and then let it
exactly, and then there's no
survive
real
as it will.
area around it. So I'm wondering if it became more defined, it might be more, but it would maybe look a little bit better.
I've been to several of those Master Gardener events at the library. You should ask them to step outside.
So give us an example.
I know that recently in front of the Carnegie Library and the library on
That is so
Mark and Fourth, they recently partnered with I think it was CU Boulder to do a demonstrator xeriscape garden. So they're doing like turf conversion to some of these, so that could be a happy medium. So we did that with the mural as well, right?
We did. That was with Growing Water Smart, but yes, those same kinds of partnerships. And that was one of those budgetary priority things that came up because somehow or another the old millstone that was there was damaged by human and became unstable. And no one is exactly clear when that millstone was put in, but the museum already has millstone in the collection, and I think it was just that Carnegie connection. Anyway, so the city, variety of us had to determine whose responsibility it was to take it out and then fix the earth. And so it ended up being a kind of a parks hybrid project, but I think that somewhere in there, like, we don't want organic material left on bronze and then to break down in time because that's going to damage our artwork. So from a maintenance perspective, if it's sitting on and starts breaking down, it's creating compounds we don't want.
Interesting.
Um, Now, we hope that the waxing that happens every year is enough of a barrier to prevent that corrosion, but it's inevitable because science is real. So we could put some sort of stone with a vessel, because it is a memorial piece, one of few in the collection, so it seems appropriate because it's a memorial piece to set it there, and also I think that it is gets that attention fairly often.
Yep.
From the flag perspective, and just flag asterisk, insert anything that could be contextualized in a not appropriate way. If you notice it, take it because you're a commissioner, and then just let me know, and then I can take care of it. Typically, those kinds of things aren't objects of any form that's not natural material. That's considered abandoned property. And so then I would hold on to it, and then it goes into abandoned property law. If somebody contacts the city and says, hey, I want my insert thing here,
Like,
whatever, flag, et cetera, I want that back, then I follow that law.
okay, cool.
So that would be the policy part of it.
They have
Good
those.
question.
They have those vases,
Yeah.
plastic,
Yeah.
whatever that cemeteries use, and we could get a couple, and I don't think they're very expensive.
I can
And then if
understand.
you see a bunch of flowers, you can just put them in the thing, and then people would learn. Oh, I can use these.
And I think so. Like, yeah, it's a stone bench, and so I think for the most part the flowers are never touching the figures.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all really helpful, and I can follow up with Angela about it, or Brett, whoever, in more detail.
Okay.
But yeah, that note on like the landscaping around our pieces is kind of helpful because that's also been a theme, I think, where sometimes I've noticed landscaping and I'm like, ooh, this is just looking a little abandoned or something, and I've not really known. I put it in my maintenance reports, but I've not known really how to what could be done even, or how much break bandwidth we have for stuff like that, or if I should just like do some things.
Go snap. Go snip and snap. Yeah, it does come up, right? Because that's the Parks Department and landscaping and those kinds of bits. Now, installing something or changing, like when we put in the Flanders Park piece, like we took turf out, we moved irrigation, we put art in, we made it so it's not getting hosed down with landscaping. We put in concrete related to that project, and that was the extent of ours. Going forward, maintenance-wise, snow removal, all of anything related to that then falls to the Parks Ops Department. So it is a little funny, and we don't want to get into the business of being like, oh, well, it looks bad, and we feel this one's no good, so we'll fix this one. Because then all of a sudden, responsibilities of
You touched it last.
right. Yeah. So we just and that's not how the dollars are to be spent. So, but that's an extremely valid question, and we certainly can ask about, just freshening and trimming rose bushes and things like. Usually, the superintendents over there are really good for like, there's a rose bush and we would like some attention. They're pretty good. Okay. Unless it's 119.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
Good comment.
Thank you, Michelle. I need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Oh, Pamela.
Second?
Here we go. Oh, 2 goners.
All in favor?
Lemon.
We are officially adjourned at 7:12.